Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we're going to be doing a Metroid tier list for 2026. Now, I did do one of these about 4 or 5 years ago for the channel, but I feel like my thoughts and feelings have changed a little bit, so we're going to do a brand new one. I'm just going to say this off from the start here. Completely and utterly my own opinion. If you feel different about where I place these games today, just remember, I'm not attacking your opinion. You're entitled to disagree. That's absolutely fine. But I'm going to go through and explain why, I put these games where I put them. So let's just get on with it, shall we? And whoever's made this tier, they've put them in release order, I believe. So that's really cool. Really appreciate that. So we're starting with the original Metroid. I have my original tier list thing. I first put the original Metroid in D tier because the original Metroid, while very, very cool game, it hasn't aged the best. I'm not saying that it's not playable. It's just more the fact that it's a game very much of its time. It requires a level of patience. If you've got patience for old NES games and things like that, I think you'll have a good time with it. It does the isolation thing very well. The biggest problem I think I have with it is the fact that everything feels very samey. And the game doesn't run particularly well in some areas, and I get that's just part of the time. It's a game that I think has been supplanted massively by Zero Mission, and we'll get to that. And for that reason, I think Metroid, while being the first game in the series, is still for me kind of a D tier game. It'll always be. I don't think it's bad in that sense. I think people should check it out, understand the roots of this game. It's just, I think in this day and age, it's a lot harder to go back to. Some people seem to really enjoy it for what it is, and that's great. I just don't really enjoy playing it. The game feels unnecessarily brutal, but I guess it's part of the learning of it. It's just that it's very much of its time. So that's why it's kind of lower down, which is weird to say in it about a lot of franchises. You usually think the first game's usually the best one, but in Metroid that just isn't the case. Next up we got Metroid 2. Now this was my first ever Metroid game back in the day. I actually kind of really like this. I like it because it was a fun pick up and play game. Like the first game, I did put it in D tier originally. And again, there's a remix come out that's been, again, supplanted it for me. It's not completely one-to-one. It's, for the most part, one-to-one. But this game was a fun experience on the Game Boy. Samus's sprite is huge. You go around hunting down the Metroids. I think the biggest issue is there's no map, and you can get lost very easily. The actual game is fairly competent. I don't mind it for what it is. Do I still think this is a D-tier game? I really like it in a lot of ways. But it's hard for me to want to play this over the remake. That's a personal thing, I get, but I think it still is in D, just because the game is old. It's got a hell of a good bit of music with a tunnel in it. But yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I think it's one of those ones. It's fun to play. I don't know if it's fun to play the entire game. Pick it up, play it for maybe an hour, see how you get on. Kind of similar with the original Metroid. I think after about half an hour to an hour with these games, you're going to know if you're going to like them or not. So, however, I'm going to order these. So, Metroid 2, I definitely prefer it to the Game Boy game rather than the NES game. I think it's just a little bit better and a bit more concise. Oh, Super Metroid, where did I have you last time? Interesting. So, Super Metroid, I think, is a very, very, very good 2D game. I don't think it's my favorite 2D game. In fact, I can think of, side-scrolling, I should call them, Metroid games. I think there are ones that are better. I think Super Metroid is the game. I genuinely do think and believe that a remake of this game would be awesome. Not because it suddenly supplants the original, but there are two things that the game really needed, in my opinion, modernizing, and that was the map and how, items on the map, they don't change. The icon doesn't change when you've got them. And the other thing was the wall jumping is kind of fiddly. Not to the point where it's unplayable or anything like that. It's just wall jumping was a lot damn easier, and all the other Metroid games afterwards. I would love to see a really nice glow up of this game. I think Super Metroid's really good. I do think, again, like the first couple of games, you do get lost quite a lot in this if you don't know what you're doing. Trying to get to Lower Norfair, if you don't know where you're going, I don't remember if the game really points you in the correct direction for it. Luckily, I knew a few things about the game going in, so that was one of them. It's hard for me because it's a game that I very much enjoyed. I just don't know if I hold it in as much regard as I once did. I mean, the music's phenomenal. The music's phenomenal in that game. The game plays really well. The boss fights are really good. Do I... last time I had it in A. Do I put it in A still? Do I feel that Super is still that good? Maybe I do believe it to be that good. I don't necessarily get the inkling to go back and replay it. I've watched a ton of speedruns of it. Phenomenal watch. Yeah. Okay, actually, maybe it is. It's not going to hit S tier for me because I think that there are other Metroid games that kind of do that for me. But I think that Super is very, very competent. It's very, very fun. The music's incredible. I just don't know if I would put it. It doesn't quite hit the highs. And bear in mind, I didn't play this when this game came out, so that's probably partly why. Next up, we've got Prime. I know Prime and Fusion came out at the same sort of time. So, Prime 1. We've also got Prime Remastered on here as well. Prime 1, my experience with it is Prime Remastered. So I've played it with a new play control. So that's why I really like what I played of Prime 1. I think this version of Prime, the original, while great and spectacular, Remaster just has a better look to it. Well, I guess it's subjective, but I think that the upheaval and graphics looks amazing, and also the controls and stuff. So for me personally, I wouldn't go back and play Prime 1 on the GameCube because I never really played with the GameCube controls that much. It's not something I enjoy. Like, tank controls has its place. I know it's not that much of a factor because this game has lock-on and things like that. But I think because Remastered exists, I think Prime 1 probably goes in a B. Because why would I play this version when I can play Prime Remastered? Which, for me personally, is the version I played. That's not to say that Prime 1 is bad. I just wouldn't have it nearly as high as I would Prime Remastered. Makes logical sense in my head, but... Fusion! So, this is an interesting one, because originally I put Fusion in A. I don't think Fusion, like, thinking back on it, and I think this is partly to do with more recent Metroid games, I think Fusion is, like, one of the more modern ones that's, like, fun and has a cool atmosphere, but it's incredibly linear, and the music really sucks in Fusion. Like, it's not a game that I particularly like. I think Fusion... You know what? I'm going to put Fusion in C. I think Fusion's, like, fine as a Metroid game. It has the atmosphere. It has the atmosphere down to a T. It has the SAX, which is a really cool thing. But everyone goes on about other Metroid games being linear. And, like, Fusion's biggest weakness is that it's incredibly linear. The moment in the boss fights are damn awesome. But the music just sucks so bad that I have no interest in replaying Fusion. I think that the game also looks very good. I think the next game that we're looking at, Zero Mission, there's a Metroid game where I want to replay it. Like, Fusion just isn't a game that I want to go back and replay. I like it, and I like watching speedruns, and I like the fact that Zero Mission's built off of that engine. But here's the difference, right? Zero Mission is a remake of the first Metroid game. Zero Mission is a lot more about the adventure, whereas Fusion's going more for the horror elements, which is absolutely fine. That's what they should do. Metroid has those horror elements in it. But Zero Mission, in my opinion, is one of the best places to start for Metroid. You may not replace the original Metroid, but I think it supplants it for me personally in terms of just how it closed. The music's, like, awesome. A lot of people got rag on the game for the Game Boy Advance not having the best audio, but I just really like those versions of the songs. So this was in S last time. It's staying in S this time. I think Zero Mission is a phenomenal place to start. 4 to 5 hour game when you know what you're doing. Really fun. Controls really well. You get to zip through all the classic locations. There's the whole added bit on the end where you're in your Zero suit. The game feels good to play, and I think that on top of being, and to be fair, it is also quite linear. Zero Mission is also quite linear to Fusion. It still directs you. It doesn't necessarily tell you exactly where to go, but it will direct you in the directions. There is obviously exploring. You do a lot of cleanup near the end of the game when you get your suit back and stuff. But I just think as a game, just the way it plays, the way it feels, the way it sounds, just an awesome game. Really, really like it. And as far as remakes go, one of the best remakes I've ever played. Genuinely really, really cool. Okay, Prime 2. Now, I have seen enough of this game. People have given me shit for this, where I haven't played it. and so I shouldn't have an opinion on it, which is just false. Prime 2, I know a lot about this game. The fact that it's split into 2 worlds. You have like Torva's bogs. You have the Citadel area. You have like the light and dark world versions of some of the enemy types and stuff. I've watched so much of this, like Quadraxis, awesome boss fight. Fighting Emperor Ing, obviously Dark Samus fights. Like, there's a ton of stuff in this game. I've watched speedruns of this game. I've watched other people play this game. I personally have not played it. I don't have much of an interest in playing it until we get a remaster with like dual controls, because I feel like the game would really benefit it because of how much more difficult the game can be compared to Prime 1, for example. I think that this particular game could sit anywhere between an A and a B, and I would probably put it in an A had I played it. The only reason I'm going to put it in B is I haven't played it, but I can respect the crap out of this game. This is one of those ones I want to make it very clear that like I'm putting it where I'm putting it because I haven't played it. Do I think the game is awesome? Absolutely. I think Prime 1 and Prime 2, as weird as it might look, sat there. Prime 1 sat there because Remastered exists. Prime 2 sat there because I haven't played it. So because of that, I can't put it any higher because I haven't played it. But I know the game fairly well regardless. And I'm sure that's going to upset some people, but so be it. Metroid Prime Pinball. Where did I put this last time? That's a good question. I really like Metroid Prime Pinball. I don't know if I would hold it in as high regard as I once did, but I can tell you I had a ton of fun playing that game. I think Metroid Prime Pinball is an awesome pinball game. It's like one of the fun, coolest things. The fact that this hasn't come back, like, this is the sort of game that just retelling that story of Metroid Prime through the power of pinball. Very, very cool. I think now, maybe I wouldn't put it as high as I did last time. I think it's going to sit in B. It's going to sit here for me, because I have played it. So it ultimately has to be, you know, higher than Prime 2. But I don't know if I would prefer it over Prime 1 having played Remastered. So, you know, I think it's a very good game, very underrated game. And people that shit on this game, I'm just like, why? It's actually really fun and really cool, and there's just so many cool like bits of uses of music and just everything else with it. Phenomenal pinball game. There's a spin-offs go, very, very cool. And that brings us on to Metroid Prime Hunters, a game that I once again did very much like. One of the first Prime games. In fact, in terms of Prime, the first Prime game that I played actually. I like it, but I don't know. I think for me, this is a game. Where did I put this originally? I'm going to assume C for this one. Where did I? I didn't do it last time, so it wasn't on my. Oh no, it was. It was in a B. I don't think it's as good as these games, but I do think it's better than Fusion. So I think it goes in C tier. I think the game's like fun and functional. The fights against and the multiplayer and stuff like that really help it, because you have like the different, you can play as Psylux, you can play as, I can't remember the rest of them are called, but you have all those different characters. They all have different guns. You have different like morph ball modes. It was actually a really cool game in terms of what's there. So I think it's one of those ones that's like people might have nostalgia for it, and I think it is worth playing. And the controls for it are kind of cool, like the way you like move and point with the touchscreen and then fire with the R. It's a game that could desperately do with a remake. It's one of those where it's like remake this game, and also add some bosses in, because there was way too many copycat boss fights. Prime 3 Corruption, a game that I have played but never finished. I honestly wish I could remember how. I've started this game at least 3 times, and I've gotten about 5 to 6 hours in. And I think the game is actually really fun, and I really liked what I played of it, but I just bounced off of it a lot. I think it's also B tier, simply because I never finished it. It's definitely above Prime 2. I haven't played Prime 2. I have to keep repeating myself. That's why that's there. I definitely preferred Pinball. There? That feels weird putting it there. I'll put it there. I think I do like Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. But I don't know if Again, I kind of want them to bring out a dual stick controls because I kind of like that, and we've just proven with Prime 4 that you can do like the whole grapple lasso and things like that. But I think that's kind of where it sits. I do think it's good. I need to replay it and go like actually sit down and play it, because honestly the controls in that game are phenomenal. Any first-person shooter with Wii controls is super cool. But yeah, at the time I never really got as into it as maybe I could have. So that's something I need to like relook into, and also play Prime 2. But these two games, Prime 3 I'd more likely to go back to. Prime 2, unless they add like a remastered dual stick controls, I don't think I'm going to play it. Personally, I just like that control scheme. Other M. Other M's a weird one, because at the time, I did not care for the... I wasn't bothered by the voice acting and all that stuff. Nowadays, though, I would say I probably am. I think Other M, when you're not using the missiles and you're not scanning and stuff, is actually some fun. Like, they're having that kind of, like, Super Metroid style-ish, like, thing. It was actually kind of fun, and I do kind of like it for that. I'm not as big a hater as I think other people are. I think it goes here. Oh no, I've played it, haven't I? Oh, that's a difficult one. See, if I put it here, people are going to be like, wow. You know, but I haven't played Prime 2. Do I think Prime 2 is better? You know what? No, I think Prime 2 is a better game than Other M. I think Other M gets a lot of hate on the voice acting, which is fair, and I think the scanning stuff, which is also fair. But if the thing with Other M is that you get a lot of fun in just the regular combat and stuff, and I kind of like that. A game that I again never finished it, got about 3/4 of the way through it. I enjoyed it for that. But I think I don't think I'd feel right putting it above Prime 2, even though I haven't played Prime 2. I kind of think that's where it goes. Federation Force I haven't played. I think it's above the original games. It probably goes in D tier, but it's probably more fun than the original games in my opinion. What I've seen in the gameplay as a co-op game seems pretty good. I think people were maybe a bit too harsh on it at the time, but that was because we hadn't had a game in a while. I'm just going to stick it in D. I haven't played it. It's not necessarily Metroid, but to be honest, it doesn't seem like that bad a game. So, and, you know, in fact, actually, sod that and go into C tier. Because I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's like a kind of like, you don't need to play this. It's probably quite fun in multiplayer. So we'll go with that. Now, brings us on to the more modern-y Metroid stuff. Metroid Samus Returns. What a remake. Like, what a really cool remake. The first of the ones of the Metroid games made by, I'm blanking on the Spanish studio, Mercury Steam. I think this is... This was up there for me originally in S. I think maybe it's dropped a little bit. I think it's A tier. Not because really anything of his fault. There's just other games that I think tend to be a bit better. I think this game's really, 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 really good, and I really like it. And this is why I hope we always have side-scrolling Metroids and Prime games. Like, I like the fact that we get both, so that's super cool. I think it's just a really good remake. Like, how to make it like easier. You have a map. You have all these cool abilities. It's easy to 100% the game. There's just tons of cool boss fights. There's a really cool added optional boss fight at the end. The biggest lack of this game, maybe the music kind of sucks. But I'm starting to notice a bit of a trend with some of the Metroid games. Like, some of the Metroid games have incredible music, some not so much. So, but would I prefer to play it over Super Metroid? Yes. I would prefer to play it over Super Metroid. I just think the modernization in that game is just a bit better and it holds up like that. There's nothing wrong with Super Metroid other than the controls. Like, Samus feels significantly more floaty in Super Metroid than she does in like any other game. So that might also play a factor into it. Then we've got Dread. Dread is an easy S tier for me. Dread still might be, we'll find out in a minute, might still be my favourite Metroid game. I think Dread plays incredibly well. The boss fights are some of the best in a side-scrolling one. It's a hard game. The Emmy are different. There's a lot of things, like the horror elements are pretty good in that game. The only thing that lets Dread down, in my opinion, is that the music absolutely sucks. Except for maybe 2 bits of music in the entire game. And that's a shame, really, because I think they do a really good job of characterizing Samus and what she interacts with and who she interacts with and the way that she feels. She feels like a badass. She looks like a badass in all of the cutscenes. Like, honestly, Dread is just such a it just understands Metroid so well. Really, 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 really like the game. So that brings us to Prime Remastered. Now, I put Prime down in B tier. I think Prime Remastered is A. I think Prime. Now, a lot of people are going to be very upset because they're going to say, well, hang on a minute, Prime's like the best. One of that and 2 are like the best. I think Prime Remastered is better playing that version because it gives more options than the original. Now, people might just be like, no, I like the original. That's fine. I think Prime Remastered, having the dual controls, having the glow up that it gets, incredible game. The only thing that maybe I suffer with, and this is just a personal preference, is use of color in games. Colorblind, so I can struggle with certain things. Prime is definitely more about like isolation and less about combat, which is what Metroid is. But I think there are just like I got to the point where I hadn't finished it. I got to the phase on Mines. That's where I'm at. I need to pick it up and finish the game. I like a lot of stuff about this game, but I don't think it's. I don't know at the moment if it's like S for me. I think the game overall, if you're saying about one of the best games of all time, Prime Remastered, forget the original Prime Remastered is one of the best games of all time. I think in like a top 20 games of all time, easily up there. But we're not doing that. We're doing like which ones I think are the best. And so I think the game is an easy A tier. Now, we are left with Prime 4. And quite frankly, I have had nothing but people give me crap about this game because I like it. And because of that, it's kind of like, well, I replayed it recently. I had a chat with Marcus. That will be up on the channel fairly soon. Me personally, I love Prime 4. I think Prime 4 is an incredible game. And it's probably not my favourite Metroid game, despite all things, because I think Dread is still my favourite Metroid game. But it's my second favourite Metroid game of all time. And I'm totally cool with people not agreeing with that. Again, it's my opinion. I know people don't sit there, but like, judge the game on what it is and don't judge the game on what it isn't. Prime 4 is a really good sci-fi romp that doesn't overstay its welcome. It has fun set pieces. Like, it does some things that I prefer. It does some things that I do think are quite dumb, but it doesn't change the fact that I think the game is absolutely incredible. And the one thing about Prime 4 that Metroid Dread doesn't have, Prime 4 has great music. Like, some like absolutely killer music. And, people give that game a lot of crap. And that's totally fine. I get it if you don't like it. And you're probably thinking like, over Metroid Prime? Yeah, man. Like, Prime's more about like the adventure in terms of the isolation and going from room to room and like kind of like exploring that way. Prime 4 just kind of plays into what I like, which is like it's linear in the areas. You go through the areas. You have your set pieces. You have your escape sequences, your bosses. Also some of the best boss fights in the Prime series. Like, the way that they, even that, the final boss is awesome. Like, all these different things. I just prefer the way that Prime 4 is set out. That's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, because people like that kind of like, non-linear discovery, and that's fine as well. All of the Prime games, to be fair, are all really good, right? But let's look at them. So, the original 2 Metroid games, indeed, probably the weakest Metroid games in terms of replayability and how they hold up. I think that's a fair assessment. C, Hunters, Fusion, Federation Force. Federation Force probably gets unnecessarily hate. I bet it's not that bad. Haven't played it, Fusion, by far one of my least favourite Metroid games. There are good elements to it. Music absolutely sucks. It's very linear. More linear than Prime 4, I might add. And not particularly, it's just not a game that I want to revisit. Hunters is fine. Like, it has some cool ideas, but I think out of all the Prime games, it's just the weakest one. Other M, I think, also gets a lot of hate. That in some instances, the way that Adam speaks to Samus is not great, but the actual moment-to-moment gameplay and exploring is kind of cool. Echoes I've not played. Metroid Prime 2 would probably be next to Prime 1 here had I played it. It might even be higher had I played it. I can only go off of what I've seen. I think the game is super awesome, but I have to limit myself and go, I haven't played it. So there in B is the highest I'm going to put it. Prime Pinball, fun game. I put hours and hours and hours into it. What can I say? I like it. I like my pinball. Prime 3 again, never finished it, but there were some cool ideas there. The original Prime, that's in B because Remastered exists, so why bother having them both in the same thing? I think Remastered is better. Then Super Metroid, phenomenal game, tons of great atmosphere, tons of great music, just a couple of minor things I'd love to see in a remake. Great game. Samus Returns, the remake of Metroid 2. For me personally, it removes the original game because I think it's so much better. The modernization, the counter hit, all these different things, the aiming, awesome game. And then we have Prime Remastered, a game that I really, really, really enjoy. I think the game is really fun. I think the dual stick controls make that game super modernized. Awesome game. My only little letdown for me, and this is a personal thing, is that using the guns as keys and color and stuff. I just struggle with that a little bit. That's why it's where it is, and I haven't finished it. And then the top 3 games, Zero Mission, one of the best remakes ever made. Why would you play the original Metroid? Apart from like seeing what it was like, I think Zero Mission is just phenomenal. Then we have Prime 4, a game that everyone else other than me seems to really dislike. I really like this game as a very linear adventure, 14 to 15 hour sci-fi romp. I just really resonated with it, and that's okay because it's what I resonated with. And then Metroid Dread, which I think still is the best Metroid game in terms of how the game feels, how much of a badass Samus is, the horror elements, the cutscenes, like all these different things going on with it. Phenomenal game. Only letdown with Dread is that the music absolutely sucks. But there you go. There is my updated list on Metroid, the series, in 2026. I have no doubt people are going to disagree. That's okay. Like I said, this is just my opinion. This isn't trying to invalidate what you think. I know Prime 4 for most people is going to be down in D tier, but I'm not most people. I'm me. But if you do want to have a conversation and you do want to like talk about things and be reasonable, the comment sections are open. Tell me where you'd put your games and all that stuff. I get it. You know, everyone's going to disagree on it. I'm pretty sure Super and Prime Remastered will probably be an S tier, along with maybe Zero Mission. Not sure about the other two, but hey. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. As always, if you like the video, hit the like button. Helps out a ton. If you want to see more content like this, or tier lists, or anything else related to anything gaming, hit the subscribe button. And until next video, I will see you then.